Hello, amazing. Really great game from Origen today. There was a little bit of a hiccup at the start where Bjergsen got a kill. Any insight into what went wrong for your team there?
We didn't need to force the fight, we just had to scale up, but we kind of forced the bottom turret, even though it had slow chunks on both bottom and mid turret. Just something that at the moment we decided to do wasn't the right decision, so we just had to wait for our comp to scale a bit more.
And of course, a lot of people will be thinking about the fact that you were on TSM last year and you came to Worlds with TSM then, and you made it out of groups. You had a pretty easy group, but this time around, people are saying that your group's very, very hard, but you did face TSM again. And how does it feel to have bested them this time around?
It feels good. Like, I'm more relieved than anything because TSM has been, unless as a team that is not a contender to get out of groups, so therefore it was more of a must-win on our way. But nonetheless, they put up competition more so than I thought. So it's just like another step on the way.
All right, and looking at that jungle matchup a bit, Santorin got the Elise, which most people are saying is the best jungle champion right now of all the jungle champions. But how do you feel about the matchup between Rek'Sai and Elise?
I don't think there's like too much competition because Elise just has so much early priority. So with Rek'Sai, you just have to wait until you scale up to like level 5, level 7 and get the Cinder going in. And afterwards you can start dueling Elise, start contesting a priority. So Elise is still the best jungle champion, but it's not like Rek'Sai would not outscale her because after, as I said, level 7, level 9, I think around that area, Elise has a lot of issues coming in.
So when you know the enemy team has Elise and you're picking Rek'Sai, in those situations, how do you prepare so that Rek'Sai doesn't get punished or fall behind?
I have to communicate way more with my lanes because usually if you play some offensive champions like an offensive matchup or priority matchup like Elise, you try to communicate a lot of, like in an aggressive manner where you say, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. Whereas if you play a defensive matchup, which Rek'Sai to Elise is, you have to say more about what he can't do. And this is quite important. Our comp scaled anyway, so I didn't really bother like too much with the situation. So I just told him I have to need a bit more, need the Synergic, maybe need this. And at that point I'm going to be strong and going to be able to outscale her.
And usually when Origen plays, they do put a lot of priority and emphasis on the early dragons. Yeah. I think you have probably the highest first dragon win rates in your wins and actually a pretty low first dragon win rate in your losses. So a lot of teams will say, you know, it's better to take the first tower, and I think especially like TSM sometimes doesn't take first dragon until like 20 minutes. What is it about first dragon that works for Origen, and why do you put so much emphasis on it?
I don't think we necessarily prepare our games and are like, we want to put emphasis on the dragon. It's more out of our bottom lane having a lot of priority every time because our pick Ben, as you can see, like Kalista first pick kind of aims for a lot of bottom priority. So taking dragons with her is just something that comes out of laning phase, and it's really just about the bottom matchups that we have usually.
So in talking about how you do put a lot of pressure and priority on bottom lane, Kalista came out again, you were able to pick it. Yesterday, Niels had a really, really great game with Kalista. Were you surprised that the Kalista went through again today?
Yeah, kind of, but not really, because the issue is just on red side you have two bans to make. Like it's Gangplank, Mordekaiser, and afterwards it's a toss-up between Lulu and, in our opinion, at least Kalista. And a lot of teams just don't seem to prioritize Kalista, so it's natural that a team like TSM, who favors like late game-ish comps, doesn't like really care too much about Kalista because her early to mid game is just really strong. But I think it's a big mistake against us.
And do you expect people to continue making this mistake, or I mean?
I hope so, but no, it's more. I don't think so, but it's just something that the teams have to see for themselves. If they think they can deal with our Kalista, then they can do it and can try it. But speaking with 2-0 up, I don't think it's a try worth making.
And I noticed that in Origen's drafts, you tend to focus more on, yesterday in particular, you focused on the target bans rather than letting those picks through. Does that have to do with the fact that there are so many priority picks, or why do you focus more on target bans?
I mean, yesterday was a lot about the fact that red side has to kind of ban some champions. We try to find a way to evade the situation where we put pressure on them if we leave 2 OPs open or whatever it is. So they have to like kind of make the decision: do we want to bend this? Should we bend this? Do we want this even in our first pick? And yesterday, TBQ, being a jungler that has quite a bad reputation, we just wanted to put a lot of pressure on him, and I guess that worked. And today it's more about eliminating last picks that they can potentially use against mid lane. Asia being more of a general champion that we don't like to face if we play Kalista or if we play a short range AD carries. So therefore, it's just natural to us to bend against the mid lane.
So again, looking at that matchup with TBQ, and how big of a factor do you think your perceived difference between, I guess, your ability to impact that particular game and TBQ's, do you think that had on the game against LGD yesterday?
I'm confident regardless of the jungle that I'm facing, unless it's obviously Mr. Dandy, but he kind of doesn't attend words right now, so it's not like I have a special perception when I come in against a weaker jungler. I'm always confident against every jungle matchup.
Speaking of other junglers at this tournament, though, again, we talk about how there's a little bit of a perception that there's a weaker pool. Are there any junglers in particular that you said, Dandy isn't here, that maybe you have some respect for if maybe they're not going to intimidate you?
Clear enough, definitely, because I respect his ability to carry games a lot. Throughout the IPS season, he had games even on tank junglers, just going 10-0, 9-1, whatever it is. So his ability to carry a game by tanking is just crazy, so I have respect for him. I think Reignover actually surprised me a lot, because usually people kind of make the statements like Kakao is gonna run all over Reignover and this kind of stuff, and I just feel like Reignover is, even though he's not like the best, he's definitely underrated. So I wouldn't say that the jungle pool per se is weak this year. I just think that the true jungle heroes are just eliminated by the fact that jungle support synergy is that important right now. So it's not like you're gonna shine anymore, especially with the early game buffs to, like, remember the season 5 patch where you had a lot more HP coming in for a lot of lanes and for everyone basically. So early game doesn't mean as much anymore. Like 1 to 3, the ganks may happen, but it's only gonna happen in jungle support synergy. So it just, I don't think that the jungle pool decreased. I just think that the meta shifted and junglers are unable to shine necessarily.
So speaking of that jungle sports synergy, you and Mithy have progressed a lot this summer. What is it that finally allowed the two of you to kind of click and get together?
I mean, I think communication has a lot to do with it, because to be fair, both of us are not the most calm and persons, so we have heated arguments, and we used to have a lot of heated arguments in the past that were not really directed into any kind of progress. So when we figured that out and decided that, okay, we gotta get our stuff together, our shit together, just gonna say it like this. At that point, we really try to improve together instead of trying to improve one by one.
Yeah, I've spoken to Mithy a little bit about that, and he had quite a lot to say about his mentality being affected in games. Do you struggle with your own issues within games with mentality? You hinted at that a little bit, but could you elaborate a bit?
I think out of the game, I may have tempers, whatever it is, because it's just natural. I'm a human being. But in game, I'm a professional. That's how it is. Before
we go, do you have anything that you would like to say to fans, or perhaps any predictions for the rest of the tournament?
To our fans, definitely thanks for the support, because those crazy French fans out there, like when you hear them chant so as Origen, whatever it is, you just get happy tears in your eyes. And it's just crazy to see that we have so much support even over other teams like TSM, who are like popular as, So, and for predictions, is it time for it already? Like I'd say SKT has a good shot. And I think we make it out of groups.
All right, I think you look like you're headed in the right direction. So
thank you.
Good luck, and thank you very much.